Lycoris Recoil is a show where terrorist attacks have become such a daily occurrence that the government decides that the best way to deal with this issue is to arm little girls in high school uniforms and to send them to the site of any potential danger. Which, I mean, I don't know how well that's going to help their population problems, but to be real, it probably would work just about as well as anything else they've been trying, so. Because you see, in this world, the logical response to an increasing need for anti-terrorism measures in Japan is for the government to organize a top-secret counterterrorism group that trains kids from a young age to be conscripted into their ranks and fight against these attacks, obviously. But if this didn't already give it away, they're not exactly all about justice, sunshine, and rainbows. Their solution to this problem is to nip it in the bud and just send their schoolgirl assassins to kill whoever they think is going to be a problem before they can cause one. Not like full-on psychopath level or anything, but not exactly due process either. These school uniforms essentially become a license to kill for these agents known as the Lycoris. Which is kind of interesting because a couple times throughout the show they mention not being able to go into town out of uniform because they can't bring their guns with them, because they'd be arrested as opposed to if they had the uniform on. But we are also shown multiple times throughout the show that the police do not know who the Lycoris are and are being fed false information about the incidents they're involved in. This even becomes a subplot later on about a couple detectives trying to figure out who the people dealing with all these suspicious events are. So like, how is it going to change anything if they're in uniform or not? The police don't know who they are. They're still going to get arrested. And now, when their boss has to come pick them up from prison for the 17th time this month, the police are probably going to start to notice a pattern. Look at all these high school girls in a school uniform that we've never seen before, who all keep getting arrested with guns, and then are mysteriously let go without going to trial. But yeah, no, nothing suspicious here. Nope, nothing at all. The first uniform-clad character we get is Takina, who, in the start, is pretty basic. She considers the Lycoris to have saved her, and that them taking her from the orphanage she was in as a young child was the best thing that could have happened to her. And because of this, she not only feels that she owes something to the Lycoris, but also that serving them well is her main goal in life. And while calling her by the books might not exactly be correct, as she can go a little overboard when she thinks it's necessary, at least at first, she definitely is the kind of person who would rat on you for being in your phone under the table during a meeting. Our main girl is Chisato, who is kind of the opposite of Takina in a lot of ways. Takina is relatively new to the field work, while Chisato is basically considered a war hero by the Lycoris. Takina is very strict and uptight, while Chisato just cares about having fun and helping people out.
Kata kata.
And while Takina starts this series pissed about the fact that she has essentially been kicked out of her direct action job with headquarters to work on this little side team, her new partner and team leader Chisato left on her own and is doing everything she can to avoid being forced back to work with them. Obviously, this isn't the best starting point for them to be fast friends, but through their work, Chisato is able to use her much broader and more optimistic view on life to show Takina that killing terrorists and the Lycoris aren't the only things to life. These beliefs clash a little, and Takina gets to see up close how insanely outmatched she is by the skill of Chisato, but she also gets an inside view of how her head operates, which really seems to hit her when she finds out that Chisato was subject to help from a mysterious group known as the Allen Organization that essentially provides people they believe have special talents with assistance when they need it most so that they can go forth and pursue their calling. Like giving a future Olympic gold medal sprinter a knee surgery when he couldn't get one otherwise. But that's even if that calling might not be what they actually want to do with their life. And while at this point Chisato doesn't know what her great talent is, she uses that moment of help she received and the life that it gave her as a sign that she should be doing what she can to help others, especially in ways that Lycoris wouldn't normally go about it. And just to enjoy the limited time that she has on Earth to the fullest. Which is funny, because Chisato can literally dodge bullets. So, now that you have been given this new heart, you will be responsible for pursuing your divine talent. Once you find what that is and refine it, then... Oh, no, I already know what it is. You do. Really? I mean, yeah, you guys know I can literally dodge bullets, right? Okay. So that's gotta be my talent, right? No. Not exactly. How is it not? Your talent won't be a skill that you are just simply highly capable of doing. It will be something chosen by God that you will be able to do better than anyone who has come before you. Do you know how many people can dodge bullets? That is not my job to know. Literally just fucking me. Nobody else on earth can do that shit. You know what? Screw you guys. You probably don't even know what it is. I cannot simply tell you, but I can give you a push in the right direction. Take this. What? What is this? McDonald's? Are you fucking kidding me? You know what? Fuck you. I'm out of here. Wait. Don't forget this. I swear to Christ! And while being Neo from The Matrix is cool and all, it isn't the only highlight of the fight scenes in this show. Every single one of them is very fluid and full of energy. And being an anime original, it lends itself to having a lot of location change in any given fight scene. So we have a lot of movements and transitions and alike. And while the gunfighting might not be exactly the most realistic you're ever going to see, it is very fun and fast-paced and a hell of a lot more realistic and impactful than you'll find in the vast majority of shows. Then there's the hand-to-hand fighting, which is always just a perfect mix of flashy, fun moves and believable fighting that make the fights extremely fun to watch without breaking your suspension of disbelief. And yeah, Chisato can dodge bullets, but at least they do it in the best way possible. She learned patterns and how the human arm contracts when pulling a trigger, watches the aim of the weapon and waits for the start of the pull and anticipates the location of the shot. This, combined with her already extremely high level of skill and talent, makes it, believable enough. And it plays really well with the fact that she's already trying to be up close and personal and makes it much more than just, I'm faster than a bullet, or something along that lines. And plus it just looks badass, so rule of cool, you know?
Yeah, 取引したいんだって。
This plays really well into her character as well though, because unlike all the other characters in the show, she isn't exactly a fan of killing and uses a gun that shoots dummy rounds instead. But because of the size of the rounds and the speed they have to go to actually deal damage without killing anybody and all this other stuff, let's just say it's not a sniper rifle. I was really hoping the rounds she was shooting were some sort of like pepper spray bullets or something instead of just like regular chalk. But I don't think it really matters though, because if I was using a real gun and a high school girl with a dummy gun dodged my bullets and beat my ass, I think I'm gonna quit. I ain't never doing organized crime again. Fuck that. Hell no. But putting that aside, this even more secret Allen organization starts to play a bigger role in the story as the plot unfolds, and is the source of a lot of the interesting conflict later on in the series, as different goals and beliefs start to collide. And you can probably already tell that this show really loves its not so secret organizations. We have the Lycoris, who are responsible for national security and anti-terrorism stuff, but they're also very clearly indoctrinating and training little girls from a young age to be child soldiers. And while I call them a secret organization, I really don't know how, with how blatant and public so much of the shit they do is. They definitely have some top grade cleaners though. If somebody drove their car through a preschool, they just tell everybody it was a gas line break and explosion and nothing malicious was done, and the news would just push that shit everywhere and people would eat it up. Like, yeah, the tire tracks in the yard, don't worry about those. That was gas. That was gas line. Their whole point in doing this being to give people the idea that everything is just fine, even if it's not, because they see that as the only way to maintain peace. But they take these cover-ups pretty serious, where they don't even let the police in on what's really happening, and aren't afraid to cover up deaths or missing people and sweep it under the rug, or even put innocent people in jail and ruin their lives in order to protect the public from the idea that anything bigger is going on. Additionally, there's a similar organization that basically does the exact same thing as the Lycoris, but with boys instead of girls, but we don't really know too much about them at this point. They've literally just been referred to as the male version of Lycoris so far. But it doesn't seem like the foot soldiers of the two groups exactly get along. So I don't know if we can say they're exactly like run by the same people or if they're on the same side. Then we have the seemingly virtuous Allen organization that we talked about earlier, which goes around helping people in exchange for them fulfilling some talent that they supposedly have. And while this organization is more or less public knowledge, the specifics of who they are and what they do are very much unknown. And honestly, as the audience, we aren't even sure exactly what the public does and doesn't know about them. Additionally, we have a pretty enjoyable cast of side characters on all sides of the conflict that really give more depth and believability to each side's own beliefs and way of doing things. Shinji and his interactions with the rest of the cast are basically the only reason why I think Alan works so well. The crew we get to see the most, though, is our coffee crew. Because, like I said earlier, Takina gets expelled from her big HQ job to work in a small subgroup where Chisato is her new team leader, which small isn't exactly enough to describe this new team because it is literally just the two of them as field agents and a crew of support people to help them out. Their work is very different than that of the standard DA Lycoris that we normally see otherwise, and they have a lot more freedom over what they end up doing. But whenever they aren't working on missions as Lycoris, they are working as servers at the coffee shop that both works as a home base and a front for their operations. The owner of the shop, Mika, is essentially their manager as Lycoris, with other members of the staff being their intel and support people. Everyone at the coffee shop is great though, and are real characters onto their own, with even the customers that come in being interesting and distinct enough. But when we're talking about characters, we cannot avoid talking about our central villain for the story, Majima. A mysterious green-haired man who throughout the story is shown to be much more skilled and knowledgeable than any of the other goons that we've been seeing, and prevents our only real physical threat to the main characters outside of these organizations that they generally believe to be their allies. Majima becomes the ringleader and mastermind behind continued attempts to thwart the Lycoris as he gathers valuable allies and information. And honestly, I love this character. At first, he kind of just comes off as a knockoff Joker, and the green hair doesn't exactly help with that part either. And I was not interested at all. But as you get to know him, you learn he's much less of a Jared Leto and a lot more of a Heath Ledger, if anything. He is pretty crazy and just here for the fun and the chaos, but he's also smart and capable in his own right. And you see he's a lot less of a Joker knockoff character than he comes off as early in the show. And he comes to have his own identity, even if the similarities are still there. And in the show, he plays that role of the active force pushing against the Lycoris, while the shady stuff is happening behind the scenes perfectly. I'll mention the detectives here too, I guess, as they kind of represent the final other side of all this. They're just a couple of detectives who managed to pick up on the admittedly very obvious suspicious shit that the Lycoris have been up to, and are trying to uncover who they even are and what's going on behind the scenes that's being covered up so much. Because, like, Lycoris be killing a lot of people. Like, a lot. Which is where the biggest point of interest for Chisato comes into play. Not only does she not want to kill people for the organization, like most of the Lycoris do, she diametrically opposes it. She knows that her time on this earth is limited, and she doesn't want to waste it not having fun and doing the things that she wants to. And has the ability to realize that the same is true for the people she is fighting against. Just because somebody is a henchman in some evil plot doesn't mean that they themselves are deserving of death. Punishment and pain, sure. But she believes that they at least deserve a chance to live out the finite time they have on the earth, and at least have a chance at someday using their time to help others too, or at the very least be a better person and just enjoy their time. And while Chisato is more or less posed as the main character of the story, Takina's growth as a person throughout her blossoming friendship with Chisato and the way it affects her internally is really the highlight and the focus of the story. But yeah, I just want to talk about this series a little because it caught my eye, it looked interesting, and I'm a sucker for a good anime original series. I genuinely believe they have the potential to sometimes surpass like traditional adaptation based anime in a few different ways. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I want to keep making them better, so make sure you guys let me know what you thought down below the video. And if you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe down below, because I've got a lot of ideas planned for the near future, and I'm hoping to get them coming out more consistently for you guys. So be waiting for that. But for now, have a good one. Peace.